Hey folks, Paul Essery here. I'm delighted today to be with Mark Walker from RevvedUp AA. Mark, thanks for taking a bit of time out to come and have a chat with us. I know, because you're busy fundraising at the moment, that you've got plenty to keep you occupied. So I appreciate you taking a bit of time out of your schedule to come and have a chat with us. So for the folks that will be listening, I mean, just tell us a bit about yourself and a bit about the business, and then we'll talk about the technology in a second.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thanks for inviting me on, and really good to be speaking to you today. So I think the bit about the business is really an extension of a bit about me, right? The kind of story flows from one to the other. So I've been in commercial teams for my whole career, which is now 17 years, I think. The grey hairs are starting to show the the wear and tear of that. For those listening, I've got grey hairs. And 15 of those have actually been in leadership positions. So I was quite fortunate at a pretty young age to be promoted very rapidly into a leadership position. I had a team of 12 across sales and marketing and even product development, and had a P&L ownership of £3 million annually. Did pretty well at that for a number of years, and then actually got the bug to go into tech. And I can always go back a little bit because there was an interesting intersection of journey between those two worlds. But to keep it reasonably brief, I ended up as the head of growth at Eventbrite for the UK and Ireland early on in their days in the UK. Really helped pioneer all of their inbound marketing and content marketing playbooks, which were so successful that the US paid attention. And I think for the first time in their history, the US actually adopted the best practices from another country of one of their satellite offices. So that really kind of helped build my name within that business, and actually outside of it as well. I did a lot of writing and speaking at events and so on about what we were doing to innovate and be different there. I then took a very early stage job at a business called Attest, when I think I was something like employee number 10. They were pre-revenue. Actually didn't have a SaaS business model at the time, and I think a lot of folks thought I was a bit nuts going from a company like Eventbrite, was well established on the path to IPO, to this early stage bet. But it really appealed to me, building from the ground up, which is essentially what I'd done with Eventbrite in the UK. That was an amazing run again. Took them from sort of 0 to 5 million in revenue, and then moved on to a late stage business again, which was at 10 million at the time, took them to just over 20 million. And that was a whole set of different lessons, right? That was, how do you run a team at scale? I think there was anywhere between 80 and 100 people at any given times across all different time zones: Australia, the US, Europe, and so on. And this then segues into, how did I land on RevvedUp, and what does it do, and what's the business? So during all those different experiences, and then increasingly doing more coaching and consulting with other early stage founders and revenue leaders, I kind of looked back, and there was a pattern around the most successful sales and marketing teams and individuals within those teams. And what I saw was they were all really, really good at creating resonant content. And by resonant content, I mean, it typically was insightful, it was well put together, it was it was timely, and so on. And with that connection happens with a prospect or someone in the deal, and you earn their trust, their credibility, right? You earn their attention, and then you've got to be able to keep doing it to keep them engaged. And so it's really important to be able to do that, but they're rare birds, right? Very few people are actually very good at it. And that's why they're always the cream of the crop, right? They're always the top 5% or so. So when I then started speaking to other leaders and thinking about my experiences, it was like, okay, let's sense check this. Is content a very important part of winning deals and growing revenue? It's like, okay, 99 out of 100 people would say yes. Then you'd say, right, how good is the team at that? And how well does it scale? And maybe of the 99 that said yes, it's important, you've got maybe one or two that say, yeah, we're pretty good at this, right? So there's a huge gap between this important thing that needs to happen and teams' capabilities to do it. And that's where RevvedUp comes in. So RevvedUp is utilizing the advances in AI to research and understand a business's prospects or their customers. So we will look at their website, we'll look at their LinkedIn profiles, we'll look at other signals and other data points that are fed into the system, everything from signals of intent to bespoke firmographic information. And what we'll do is then we'll use that to craft the perfect kind of message at the right time to be delivered to those across all of the different touch points that a buyer will have. So not just cold outreach emails, but we're talking social, LinkedIn, even landing pages, which is actually really complex to do. And then we'll be adding even more formats as we grow. So hopefully that's a good introduction to me and how I've ended up in running RevvedUp.
Yeah, no, thank you. So, I mean, just to clarify, so what you're saying is that the proposition plugs the gap between wanting lots of content and having lots of content.
Yes, yeah, it plugs a couple of gaps, but that in particular is the original thesis behind why is this important? Why is this a problem we're solving as a business?
So let's just explore that a bit further then. So tell us about the tech and give us an idea of how it works. But more importantly, why does that change things? So if I was a client, why would that change things for me? And let's just talk through some of those issues.
Yeah, amazing. So, I mean, let me give you an example of someone that we're speaking to at the moment. They're a pretty big business based in the US, and they're up to their eyeballs in tech already, right? So, when we first started talking, I thought, is there a gap here? And this extrapolates into a larger story, right? But we started speaking to them, and what they're trying to do with our tech is they get a ton of inbound leads, right? And they can't have the sales team reach out to all those inbound leads. It's too high a volume. So what happens is they ultimately go into a nurture program. So nurture program is a series of predefined emails that get sent out to these leads. And they've tried to get very sophisticated in segmenting the leads and segmenting the messages to different ICPs and so on and so forth. So on the one hand, that's become fiendishly complex to maintain because there's just so many different variables. It actually takes a whole team to even try and maintain it, and it frequently breaks. So that's a headache. And then the second piece is that even at that level, they know that the conversion rates are poor because they're still getting relatively generic messages, right? They each individually have their own personalities, their needs, their challenges, their contexts within their businesses, right? So what they can do with RevvedUp is they can feed all of those inbound leads into our system. And our system, instead of sending them a generalized kind of industry level type of message, we can go, okay, we understand they're in this role, in this business. They've actually written about this on their LinkedIn profile. We've got a sense of their communication style, the words that they're using. We can also understand that they downloaded this piece of content, so they're probably interested in this topic, which when fed through to this is their communication style, this is their role, this is how long they've been doing it, this is the type of industry they're in, these are the types of challenges that industry has right now, these are the trends that are happening. You can start to get really, really, really specific, right? And that way they can end up with thousands of effectively one-to-one emails going out to these prospects, these inbound
tailored content.
Very, very tailored content. And when the prospect bites, when they say, right, these seem to really get me, instead of sending them back to some general book a demo or book a meeting type of landing page, they can go to a one-to-one tailored, individualized landing page as well, with even more content and even more insight for that prospect. So it's all about connecting those journeys and making it incredibly relevant for the prospect.
Which is, I mean, it's a piece of technology that does what a good salesperson would do, isn't it? But it does it at scale.
Yes, it does it at scale, and you're absolutely right. That is I've seen what great salespeople do, and the technology can replicate a lot of that. One of the other nice advantages of the way we're working is with marketing teams, they exert a lot of effort creating thought leadership and content and creating positioning statements and white papers and so on. And then the sales team is so busy that they never really read that material, right? You don't ever find salespeople going on and actually watching the webinars and reading the thought leadership.
They're too busy.
They're too busy, right? And particularly if there's a lot of that content being produced. So they either don't use it at all, which is such a waste and drives marketing completely potty, or they they completely misposition it because they don't really understand what's going on. So with our tech, you can take your resource library, upload it into RevvedUp, and then what we will do is we'll match the most interesting content for the most interesting
Wow.
prospect and explain to that prospect the specific points within that 50-page white paper. Here are the 3 key takeaways that we think is really interesting to you. Please go and read the whole lot if you want to. So again, we're doing the work of what a really great set. If you had a very tightly aligned sales and marketing team, which is pretty much ever, that's what it would look like, and we're making that happen very, very easily.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can absolutely see why people would find that valuable. I mean, if you're trying to run big teams, it's just very difficult to do that. And if a piece of technology that enables you to do it would be a massive bonus, I would have thought. But I mean, I think it's a fantastic proposition. I mean, but it's also quite complex. I mean, complex bit of technology. I mean, tell us about the journey to where you are and some of the challenges that you've had to overcome, because it can't have been easy, because you're doing something that is quite tricky, I would have thought.
Yes. So this is where I need my co-founder to be on the call, because he's the technical genius behind making it all seem and sound very simple. But yeah, look, behind the scenes, it is pretty complex. So I think there's 2 types of challenges, right? There's understanding what you need to build, where is there pain in the market, where is the gap, and I can talk a little bit about that. And we've been on a bit of a journey there. And then there's the technical aspects of it. So yeah, that's been challenging because we have to integrate with lots of different systems. We have to really understand the context of the prospect. We have to understand the context of the business selling to them. We have to wrangle with AI, which is amazing, but absolutely far from perfect. So we've had to build lots of smart iterations and guardrails and levels of sophistication around the prompts. I mean, our prompts are, if you like scrape it all back there without revealing too much, they're unbelievably long and sophisticated. And then you've got to sort of fine tune, right, from seeing what works and what doesn't, which is a factor of time. And thankfully, we've now got it out to the market, so we're starting to see more and more about what does and doesn't work. So that's going to help and build a data moat. But yeah, from a technical standpoint, it's really complex. And where we're going and the vision that we have for the business, it will become. I mean, the idea is we build an incredible technical moat and defensibility, because it will be very hard for people to come and fast follow.
Which gives you your competitive edge, doesn't it? It's very difficult for people to copy.
Yes, yes, exactly.
And, I mean, and tell us about the future. I mean, let's say 5 to 10 years out. What are your ambitions for the future? What's the kind of direction of travel? What is it you want to achieve over the next few years?
Yeah, so the really the simplest way that to articulate it would be that we want to help sales and marketing teams have such good content that their prospects would pay them for it. Right? That's kind of
Now, that's an ambition.
That's an ambition, right? So to date, the way almost every team operates, sales and marketing, whether it's inbound or outbound, you drop a lead into a predefined sequence or cadence, whatever you want to call it. It's X number of steps. It lasts this number of weeks, and then the prospects churn out of that, and you've burnt that lead probably for 6 months, 12 months, and so you then have to go and fill up even more, right? And it becomes this horrible attrition of volume. We think we can build a new system where prospects are so delighted by the content that you're sharing because it's genuinely insightful, it's genuinely relevant, it's helping them solve a problem they have at the time, that one of our clients, which we've now stolen, said, oh, it's like having a system of perpetual content, right? So it's almost like having a personalized one-to-one newsletter, whether they would pay for it or, most importantly, they never want to opt out of it. And we feel that's very, very powerful, because then you stop this volume game, you stop this burning through leads and really annoying people. And I don't know how accurate the exact stat is, but you've probably heard that 95% of the market is not ready to buy, right? There's only ever 5% people in market. Well, actually that 95% who aren't yet in market still have challenges, right? They still have problems. They still want to be educated. So you can build a relationship up with them. And it means that when they do go in market, instead of waiting for some of these commoditized intent signals, like they've changed jobs and suddenly they get 100 messages from people saying, hey, we see you've changed jobs, you are way advanced in that because you are top of mind. So it's almost blending this concept of performance sales approaches, if we want to get direct response, with an always on brand building approach.
Yeah. Yeah, and what a great fusion. I mean, you can see why that would have a positive impact on customers, because it's not what happens now, is it?
It really, really is not. And again, this is a little bit of an extension of my experience. So I've led sales teams, but I've also led marketing teams specifically as a marketer. And then when I became a chief revenue officer, I owned sales and marketing. And the debate still rages on with people as what should a chief revenue officer run marketing? And the reason that debate is there is because almost no CRO has ever done marketing before, right? They are effectively still a de facto sales leader. And so even with CROs and then CMOs, both at the C level, you've still got a divide between the teams, right? So the fact that I've consistently and always run across both, I think really plays into the way we're thinking about this product and the vision for the future.
Yeah. And I mean, every organization I've been in that's been of that sort of size, there's always been tension between sales and marketing. And if you can find a way to remove that, I mean, so much to the better, really. I mean, I think it's a great proposition. Well done on developing it. So, I mean, thank you for taking some time out to tell us the story. It's really interesting, and I've no doubt. I mean, there are lots of people that will see that as valuable. I've no doubt about that. So good luck going forward, and maybe come back in a year or two and let us know how you got on.
Yes, would absolutely love to. Well, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to tell a bit more about the story. It's been a real pleasure.
Lovely. Likewise, it's been a real pleasure. It's good to see you, Mark. Cheers.
Thanks so much, Paul.
Bye-bye.